First contact, an impossible connection. The arrival of the Zinthari vessel defied all expectations. Unlike the thunderous, fiery entries humans had imagined in their centuries of space fiction, this ship descended in absolute silence, its hull rippling like liquid mercury under the pale moonlight. It hovered momentarily over the designated landing zone in Nevada's high desert before gently touching down, creating not even a dust cloud as its seemingly impossible mass settled on Earth for the first time. Dr. Marcus Reed stood among the assembled welcome committee, his heart pounding against his ribcage. As the lead xenobiologist for the United Earth Coalition, he'd spent 15 years studying potential alien biology based on theoretical models and distant observations. Now, he was moments away from meeting actual extraterrestrial life. "They're taking their time," muttered General Juliana Ortiz beside him. Her hand rested casually on her holstered sidearm, a gesture of readiness rather than hostility. "Atmospheric testing," Marcus replied, eyes fixed on the ship. "They're probably making sure our air won't kill them." As if responding to his words, the ship's surface began to transform. Not hatches or doors, but a flowing reconfiguration of its very material, parting like water to reveal a soft blue light from within. From this ethereal glow, a figure emerged. She for the being seemed decidedly feminine in form, floated rather than walked, hovering several inches above the desert floor. Her skin possessed a faint luminescence, casting gentle patterns of light that shifted with her movements. Most striking were her eyes, large, almond-shaped, and filled with flecks of what looked like starlight against deep violet irises. Her head was adorned not with hair, but with crystalline filaments that caught and refracted the moonlight, creating a halo effect around her elongated skull. She wore robes that seemed more liquid than fabric, flowing around her slender form in ways that defied Earth physics. When she finally spoke, her voice resonated not just in their ears but somehow within their minds as well. "I am Nyala, royal emissary of the Zinthari Confederation. I bring greetings from across the stars." The diplomatic proceedings that followed were meticulously choreographed. Earth representatives welcomed the Zintharians with prepared speeches about peace and cooperation. The aliens responded with their own formal acknowledgments. Throughout it all, Marcus found himself increasingly fascinated not by the political theater, but by Nyala herself. Unlike the other Zintharians in her delegation, who maintained an almost mechanical composure, Nyala displayed subtle signs of genuine curiosity. Her eyes would linger on human faces, on the desert landscape, on the birds circling overhead. Once, when a desert hare darted across the perimeter, Marcus caught her watching it with unmistakable wonder. 3 weeks into the diplomatic mission, Marcus was assigned to conduct biological information exchanges with the Zintharians. The assignment brought him face to face with Nyala in a sterile laboratory filled with Earth's most advanced scanning equipment. "Your species fascinates me, Dr. Reed," she said as he prepared the non-invasive molecular scanner. "You are so improbable." "Improbable?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "That's a new one. Usually we just get called primitive." "Not primitive, improbable," she insisted. "Your evolutionary path should have ended countless times, yet here you stand defiant of statistical probability." "We're stubborn that way," he replied with a small smile. "Now, if you don't mind holding still for just a moment." The scanner hummed to life, bathing Nyala in soft green light. As data streamed across his monitors, Marcus's expression shifted from professional curiosity to profound confusion. "That can't be right," he muttered, recalibrating the equipment. "Let me try again." After the third scan showed identical results, Nyala tilted her head. "You have discovered my condition." "Your condition?" Marcus stared at the readings in disbelief. "According to this, your reproductive system is completely non-functional, but more than that, the genetic sequences that would normally code for reproduction are missing entirely." "Yes," her voice carried a weight he hadn't heard before. "I am the last of the royal lineage. For 3 generations, our genetic viability has diminished. My mother was barely able to conceive me. I cannot conceive at all." The vulnerability in her admission stirred something in Marcus. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to pry into something so personal. It is not personal, it is biological fact, she replied, though her eyes betrayed deeper emotion. My people search for solutions, but our genetic science has reached its limits. I am the end of a line spanning thousands of years. In the weeks that followed, Marcus found himself spending more time with Nyala than his official duties required. They discussed everything from molecular biology to earth music. He introduced her to chocolate, which she found fascinating but couldn't metabolize, and thunderstorms, which made her crystalline filaments vibrate in harmonic response. She taught him about Zinthari star navigation and their concept of consciousness extending beyond physical form. Your species views death as an ending, she explained one evening as they watched the sunset from a mesa overlooking the facility. We see it as a transition. The energy patterns that comprise our consciousness return to the cosmic flow. That sounds like what some Earth religions believe, Marcus noted. The soul returning to a greater whole. Yes, she agreed. Though for us it is not faith but observable science, we can track the energy dispersion. That's beautiful, he said quietly, comforting even. She turned to him, her luminescent patterns brightening slightly. Does mortality frighten you, Marcus? The use of his first name, something she had never done before, caught him by surprise. Sometimes not dying itself, but leaving things unfinished, not fulfilling my potential. That is my fear as well, she admitted. Not for myself, but for what my lineage carried. Genetic knowledge accumulated over millennia gone with me. Without thinking, Marcus reached out and took her hand. The moment their skin touched, a visible spark of blue-white energy crackled between them. Nyala's eyes widened, her filaments standing erect in apparent shock. I'm sorry, Marcus began, pulling back. I didn't. No, she interrupted, her voice trembling slightly. That was unexpected. Physical contact between Zintharians is rare, between species unprecedented. Did I hurt you? No, her patterns pulsed in a rhythm he recognized as her equivalent of laughter. It was pleasant, like hearing a song I'd forgotten I knew. Their relationship evolved naturally after that, though both understood the unprecedented nature of their connection. The Zinthari delegation noticed, of course. Some responded with clinical curiosity, others with thinly veiled disapproval. Earth officials were equally divided, though most simply seemed bewildered by the concept. You understand this can't be physical, Marcus said one night as they sat beneath the stars. Our biologies are completely different. Physical compatibility is overrated, Nyala replied, her hand now comfortably resting in his. The Zinthari believe true connection happens at the quantum level, energy patterns harmonizing across space and time. That's the most romantic description of quantum entanglement I've ever heard, he laughed. Is that not what you humans call love? Particles that, once connected, respond to each other across any distance. Marcus couldn't argue with that logic. 6 months into the Zinthari mission, when the diplomatic corps was preparing for their eventual departure, Nyala fell ill. Her luminescence dimmed, and she reported sensations she had never experienced: dizziness, fluctuating body temperature, internal pressure changes. Marcus insisted on conducting a full medical scan, expecting to find some form of terrestrial pathogen her system couldn't process. What he found, instead, defied every law of biology he'd ever studied. This is impossible, he whispered, running the scan for the 4th time. Completely impossible. Nyala, watching his face carefully, asked, What have you found? You're pregnant, he stated flatly, still staring at the readings. But that's not possible. Your species and mine were not compatible. We're not even carbon-based in the same way. And your reproductive system doesn't. Show me, she demanded, rising to examine the screen. The image displayed a small but distinct energy pattern nestled within her central cavity. Not a fetus in the human sense, but an organized collection of both Zinthari energy signatures and unmistakably human DNA patterns, somehow merged into a coherent, growing entity. How, she whispered, her filaments trembling. I don't know, Marcus admitted. By every law of biology we understand, this shouldn't be possible. It's like Like your energy patterns have somehow incorporated my genetic material and created something entirely new. Nyala placed a hand over the area where the energy pattern pulsed. The quantum harmony, she said softly. What my people theorized but never achieved, consciousness influencing physical reality at the most fundamental level. The implications hit them both simultaneously. This wasn't just an unprecedented pregnancy. It was the potential salvation of Nyala's genetic line and the beginning of something neither human nor Zinthari science had ever contemplated. We need to tell them, Marcus said, already dreading the reaction from both their peoples. This changes everything. Yes, Nyala agreed, her luminescence brightening with a new pattern he had never seen before. It changes everything. As they prepared to announce their impossible miracle to the waiting worlds, neither could have predicted the seismic shifts their child would trigger across two civilizations, or the forces that would align against them to prevent this unprecedented bridge between stars from ever being completed. Miracle child and new beginnings. The news of Nyala's pregnancy spread through both human and Zinthari hierarchies like wildfire across dry plains. Within hours of their announcement, the desert facility transformed from a diplomatic outpost into the epicenter of an interstellar phenomenon. The Zinthari High Council dispatched their most renowned genetic specialists aboard faster-than-light vessels. Earth's most brilliant minds in xenobiology and quantum physics were flown in under military escort. Marcus found himself suddenly relegated to the sidelines as Nyala became the subject of endless tests and examinations. They speak of me as if I am a laboratory curiosity, Nyala confided to Marcus during a rare moment alone. Not a person carrying a child, but a container housing an experiment. Marcus took her hand, now accustomed to the gentle electric tingle that always accompanied their touch. I'll fight for you, for both of you, he promised. This isn't an experiment, it's our child. The Zinthari scientists' conclusions came first. The energy pattern growing within Nyala was indeed incorporating both species' genetic material in a way previously thought impossible. The human DNA had somehow been translated into quantum information patterns compatible with Zinthari biology. More remarkably, the child was actively repairing the genetic degradation in Nyala's lineage, restructuring broken sequences as it developed. It is as if the child knows what to fix, explained Zinthari chief geneticist Thalorin, his own luminescence pulsing with scientific excitement. It carries the complete undamaged blueprint of the royal lineage, retrieved from genetic memory we thought lost forever. Earth scientists were equally astounded, but focused more on the implications for human understanding of biology and physics. This pregnancy fundamentally challenges our conception of life, declared Dr. Lydia Okonkwo, Earth's leading quantum biologist. It suggests consciousness may be the primary organizing principle of matter, not the other way around. As the pregnancy progressed, Nyala began exhibiting unprecedented abilities. Objects in her vicinity would occasionally levitate. Electronic devices activated without being touched. During moments of strong emotion, she could momentarily phase through solid matter. The child is enhancing your quantum manipulation abilities, Marcus theorized after witnessing her accidentally pass her hand through a steel table. It's like it's teaching your body new possibilities. Not everyone viewed these developments with wonder or scientific curiosity. 6 weeks after the announcement, the first threats emerged. An Earth-based extremist group calling themselves Human Purity Front released manifestos denouncing the pregnancy as contamination of the human genome. Meanwhile, a faction of Zinthari conservatives demanded Nyala return to their homeworld, arguing that the child belonged exclusively to their civilization. Security around the facility tightened. General Ortiz personally oversaw the implementation of advanced defense systems. I don't care what species that baby is, she told Marcus bluntly. No one threatens a pregnant woman on my watch. The first actual attempt came not as a direct attack, but as sabotage. One morning, the facility's life support systems began pumping altered atmospheric mixtures into Nyala's quarters, imperceptible to humans, but potentially fatal to Zinthari physiology. The culprit was a mid-level technician who had been secretly communicating with the Human Purity Front. But before the sabotage could take effect, every electronic system in the facility simultaneously shut down, then restarted with a strange harmonic hum. Security footage later revealed that at the exact moment of danger, Nyala had been sleeping peacefully, but her abdomen had glowed with intense blue-white light. The child protected her, Marcus realized, reviewing the footage. Somehow it sensed the threat and neutralized it. More attempts followed. A drone carrying a specialized electromagnetic pulse device was intercepted by birds that suddenly flew in precise, unnatural formations to bring it down. A Zinthari extremist posing as a medical specialist found himself unable to move or speak when he approached Nyala with a ceremonial dagger hidden in his robes. Each incident only strengthened the growing theory. The unborn child possessed consciousness and abilities that transcended known science. It existed simultaneously in multiple states of reality and could manipulate probability itself to ensure its survival. By the 5th month, Nyala's pregnancy had transformed from a scientific curiosity into something many were beginning to view with religious awe. Pilgrims from both species gathered outside the facility's perimeter, holding vigils and leaving offerings. Some called the child the bridge, a living connection between two evolutionary paths that should never have crossed. Inside the increasingly fortified compound, Marcus and Nyala tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy. They played earth music to the growing presence within her. Nyala taught Marcus Zinthari meditation techniques to help him connect with the child's consciousness. "I can feel impressions," he told her after one particularly deep session. "Not thoughts exactly, but awareness, curiosity, joy." Nyala smiled, her patterns glowing warmly. "Our child sees beyond our limitations. It exists where our species' differences mean nothing." As the pregnancy entered its final phase, the physical manifestations intensified. Gravity fluctuated unpredictably around Nyala. Time itself seemed to flow differently in her presence. Clocks ran backwards, observers reported experiencing moments multiple times, or seeing events before they happened. "The child is rewriting local reality," theoretical physicist Dr. Hiroki Tanaka explained during an emergency consultation. "It exists partially outside our dimensional constraints. I believe it's preparing space-time itself for its arrival." The birth began during a rare desert thunderstorm. As lightning split the sky, Nyala's entire body became translucent, glowing from within like a constellation brought to Earth. Marcus refused to leave her side, despite warnings that the energies involved might be dangerous to human biology. "Probability, realigning," Nyala gasped as wave after wave of energy pulsed through her. "The child, creating its own path into existence." For 6 hours, the fabric of reality trembled around them. Instruments recorded quantum fluctuations that should have torn apart the very atoms of the facility. Yet instead of destruction, there was creation, molecules rearranging, energy patterns stabilizing into new configurations never before seen. When the moment of birth finally came, it wasn't a physical separation but a coalescence. The energy that had been building within Nyala gathered into a perfect sphere of radiant light that hovered between her and Marcus. Slowly, it took form, neither fully human nor Zinthari, but something gloriously new. The child, a daughter, had skin that shifted between normal human appearance and luminescent patterns like her mother's. Her eyes were human in shape, but contained the starfield depth of Zinthari vision. Most remarkably, she was surrounded by a faint aura that seemed to bend light itself, as if reality gently curved in her presence. "Lyra," Nyala whispered, reaching out to touch their daughter's face. "Her name is Lyra." "The bridge between stars," Marcus said softly, understanding the reference to both Earth and Zinthari astronomy. "Perfect." News of Lyra's birth resonated across both worlds. The unprecedented nature of her existence forced both species to reevaluate fundamental assumptions about life, consciousness, and their place in the universe. Political structures that had seemed immovable began to shift in response. 2 weeks after Lyra's birth, an unprecedented joint session of Earth's United Nations and the Zinthari High Council convened via quantum link. After days of debate, they announced the formation of the Interstellar Genetic Cooperation Accord, a framework for shared research and mutual protection of hybrid citizens. Not everyone embraced these changes. Extremist factions on both sides continued their opposition, now with renewed fervor. But they found themselves increasingly isolated as public sentiment shifted toward wonder rather than fear. Lyra grew at an accelerated rate, displaying abilities that defied categorization. By her 3rd month, she could communicate telepathically with both species. By her 6th month, she demonstrated control over quantum probability fields that allowed her to manipulate matter at its most fundamental level. "She's not dangerous," Marcus insisted during a high-level security briefing after Lyra had accidentally transformed a military drone into a flock of butterflies. "She's just learning her boundaries." "That's what concerns us, Doctor," replied the newly appointed Earth-Zinthari liaison officer. "What exactly are her boundaries?" The answer came unexpectedly during a coordinated attack by a coalition of human and Zinthari extremists. Using advanced stealth technology, they penetrated the facility's defenses and reached the family's private quarters, intent on eliminating what they called the abomination. They found Lyra sitting alone in the center of the room, appearing as a normal 9-month-old child. When the lead attacker raised his weapon, Lyra simply looked at him and showed him everything. Later, survivors described the experience as having the entire universe opened within their minds. In an instant, they perceived reality as Lyra did, a vast, interconnected consciousness expressing itself through seemingly separate forms. They saw the artificial nature of the boundaries they had fought to maintain and the infinite potential of life unconstrained by evolutionary isolation. None of the attackers fired a shot. Most fell to their knees. Some wept uncontrollably. When security forces finally broke through, they found the would-be assassins in a state of profound transformation. "She didn't harm them," one trembling extremist explained. "She healed us." The incident became known as the Revelation, and its impact rippled outward. Those who had experienced Lyra's consciousness became ambassadors for a new understanding that transcended species identity. Former enemies became allies in spreading a message both simple and revolutionary. Separation was an illusion, and the universe itself yearned for connection. 1 year after Lyra's birth, Marcus and Nyala stood with their daughter on the desert mesa where they had first truly connected. The facility below had evolved into the first interspecies research and harmony center, with representatives from both worlds working together to understand the new possibilities Lyra had introduced. "She will change everything," Nyala said, watching Lyra create tiny galaxies of light between her small fingers. "More than we can imagine." "She already has," Marcus replied. "But is that a burden too heavy for a child to bear?" Lyra looked up at them both, her eyes reflecting starlight despite the daylight hour. When she spoke, it was with the voice of a child but the resonance of something far older. "Not a burden," she said simply. "A gift, the beginning." Around them, the desert bloomed with flowers that had never existed before, perfect hybrids of earth flora and energy patterns reminiscent of Zinthari homeworld vegetation, a visible metaphor for the new reality taking root. Far above, in orbital observation platforms, scientists from both worlds documented the phenomenon with a mixture of scientific precision and undisguised awe. The impossible child had made the impossible commonplace, and in doing so, had opened a door neither species could close again. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for this bridge between stars all along.